Okay. Right, number 3 from Milo Pope 23. What's the best way to correct left and right misses in the swing? Really easy. You can do it one of two ways. Firstly, get an understanding of your club face, so you know when it's closed, you know when it's open. The ball flight always tells you that at the start line. So go out and hit little shots and point the club to the right and point the club to the left and get a feel for that. That'll help you then understand and diagnose when it goes left or goes to one side you don't want. Or secondly, when you're practicing, put some targets or some obstacles out in front of you that makes you hit away from them or makes you hit around them, so that when the ball goes into them or hits them, you'll know that that's one of your misses. So just choose one side to miss on, and the game will be much easier. But you've got to get an understanding of club face. Club face is king. Right, go.
Right, I'll go again. Right, okay, so looking for answers on more consistent striking from 30 to 90 yards with my wedges, fins, fats, and every other type of shot going from Corey McAllister. So basically what it sounds like, if you're struggling for strike from 30 to 90 yards, you're probably struggling with trying to hit the ground in the right spot with the club. So generally, the first thing I would go to would be making sure that your body weight / pressure is in the right place at impact. So if you're hitting fins and fats, you're probably bottoming out a little bit too early, so the club's hitting the ground too far behind the golf ball. So ask yourself, for the shot you're trying to hit, where do you want your body to be at impact, and then try and set up with your body as close to that position as possible, because in a wedge shot we don't need to transfer a lot of weight or pressure to create power. We just need control and consistency of strikes. So try and get as a general rule, your chest and your belt buckle stacked up pretty much on top of each other, in line with the front of the golf ball at setup, and then feel like your weight and your pressure just stays there the whole time. So with that, you'll probably be able to bottom the club out a little bit more consistently at the golf ball.
From Bino89. Would love to know a good putting drill to do on a putting green or even on a putting mat in the house. I'll answer it from the point of view of being on a putting mat, on the basis that that's where most people are going to be at the moment. Difficult to do any pace drills and difficult to do much other than, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. So I'd be very much concentrating on start line and therefore putting a gate. So having, let's say, a few inches or a foot or so in front of the ball, trying to get your golf ball to fit in between a tight gate. So if you can control start line and see how many times you can get it through that gate, you might start the gate slightly wider and then make it more difficult. That would be a good way to be finding a way to control face, which controls start line. And if you find that you have a consistent miss, if you keep pulling it and keep hitting the left gate, or if you keep missing hitting the right gate, there's something within the technique or the skill level that you probably need a little bit more help with. You could try fixing it yourself. If you're hitting the left gate, your face is closed. If you're hitting the right gate, the face is open, if you're a right-hander. There could be some technical reasons for that, or you might be able to figure it out yourself, but it's a pretty straightforward way to know whether or not you can control your start line through using a gate. That'd be my thoughts.
So start line's a thing you can work on in the house, Richie. That's what you're saying. The big one.
Yeah, even on it doesn't even have to be a putting mat. Even just on carpet. Just as long as you're starting the ball from the same place and the gate is obviously wide enough to fit a ball through. That's the big one, I guess. You have to start the ball from exactly the same place, because if you move the ball around in its location, you're changing where the gate is, which could cause some issues. So as long as you start from the same place and you've got your gate there to try and hit your ball through, that's a good way to just control that or improve that skill level. There's other things that you can do around your stroke arc or stroke tempo, but I guess that's a little bit more personal depending on the player, so it's harder to answer that one.
You broke up there a bit, Richie. You broke there a bit. That's cool. That's the thing, Chris. How do you improve your strike from 30 to 90 yards?
Yeah.
Okay. So a brilliant drill to help improve your striking of wedges from 30 to 90 yards to this, all you need is 2 tees, very simple, and you take your address position as you would with any wedge shot, and in the middle of your stance, you put 2 tees, first tee level with your toe line, and then the second tee maybe out 3 or 4 feet or a club length away from you, so it's a direct right angle to where you're lined up. Put that right in the middle of your stance, and just figure out how to start your divot at the tee going forward. So your divot can't fall behind the line, it falls on the line of the 2 tees going forward, and that then will ensure that your pressure is going forward and your body's rotating through. Once you can control your divot and your low point, then start hitting some 20, 30 yard shots. When you start getting success with those, then move back up through the gears to 90 yards. What you want is to be able to start your divot where you want, therefore control the low point of your golf swing. If you can do that, you'll be able to hit the golf ball solid, no probs. There you go. So what's number 3? Is that what I'm doing? Do you have any on that, JP? No, you want any drills for help?
No, it's pretty solid. Probably that's sort of out. Or something like I was just going to do a chalk line, but you're pretty much done it with the tees anyway.
No, that's good. That's good.
There you
So our next question, number 5, is it's quite a good one. So for each of us, what is our most embarrassing thing to happen on a golf course? So I suppose mine's probably embarrassing for how bad the shot was. So I was playing with my dad one day when I was a bit younger, and managed to be standing in the middle of the fairway and completely shanked it, hit him in the leg. He fell over and the pitch marks went into the side of his leg, his pitch repair. So that's quite embarrassing with how bad the shot was. Well, you guys, what would your score be, Chris?
Me, it would be, I was playing in the Ulster Boys, I think it was the Ulster Boys, of Bangor, and the 18th at Bangor. If you can think, the clubhouse is in quite close proximity to the 18th green, and I had this wedge in my charge, and I've just absolutely bladed this thing. It's just gone straight through the green, onto the bottom green, hit the wall of the clubhouse. So it wasn't exactly my proudest moment.
Johnny, what would you think?
In keeping with those wonderful strikes, I played in the north of Ireland one year, and I think it was 4 up, 4 to go, choosing my lunch when I lost 15, 16, 17, and then an 18 and 1 up, 1 to go at Portrush, and I hit it in the rough off the tee. I've completely folded at this point. I was just trying to get by, and I hacked it out about 115 from the green and completely hossled a wedge which hit the ambulance, stayed out of bounds. I lost on tie holes, I think, and I was known for that week as St Johnny's ambulance service. That was my low point / most embarrassing moment. I had to take therapy to get over that one. But yeah. Ricardo.
Richie, what about yourself?
Plenty of hosel rockets to talk about, unfortunately. Thankfully none when it's mattered the most, more just in the middle of a round where it's maybe not as many people are going to see it. But to lead in on a different route, I went through one of those phases of wearing like ridiculous Polter trousers, and it was a phase. I've gone past it now, and I look back now, and I remember like going from at the golf course, you can get away with it to an extent, but if you go into the supermarket before or after, and you're walking around the supermarket and that stuff, and I just remember thinking, what am I doing?
What
am I doing? So yeah,
did you wear your visor? Your visor and Tesco, did you?
It might well have been a visor on there as well. Yeah. You live and learn. Well, it took me a while, but I learned in the end.
You're just coming out of it now.
Right, next one. Who are we up to next?
Cut and paste, right there. That's 5. 6 is your GP.
Oh,
6
is short game.
Yeah, you wedge drills or something?
Yeah. So our next question's in from Garth. So wants to know, so from about 30 to 70 yards, is it best using one wedge and using the clock-based method, so changing it from 9 to 10 to 11, say, or using the same pitch shot, so say 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, but changing your wedges to control your distances? So I would say you could probably do, it's probably personal preference, I would say, whatever you feel most comfortable with or whatever you're going to get most consistency with. I would say you could do both, probably choosing the same pitch shot might be a good option. It might be easier just to keep the same length of swing and then just change for your wedges where it's a pitch, a sand, a lob, and keep it easy that way. Or you want to go into a little bit more in depth, I would say you could change different distances on the clock face, so doing a short pitch, a medium, and a long, and change it that way. I would say I would try both. I would go and take something like 5-10 golf balls and try it and see which you're getting most consistent with in your results. Would you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I would just say with the choosing what kind of method or system you use to control your distance, in my experience working with certain players, it ties in with their personality a little bit. As in, if you're the type of person who is quite structured and is quite systematic in what they do, then you will take more confidence from knowing that, right, okay, my 9 o'clock swing goes this distance, my 10 o'clock swing goes this distance. But at the same time, I've worked players who are more scattered in their approach, as in they're not as systematic, they're a little bit more natural feel types where they can just feel a yardage, 64, feel it, 69, and just feel it. So there's not much of it. So it depends on your personality type, I think, as well. So it has to line up with that.
Richie, on that?
Yeah, those that are looking for a little bit more of a systematic approach. If I was to do a gapping system for someone on TrackMan, I would normally ask them to hit all of their wedges, like a 60, 56, 52, 48, with 2 or 3 different swing lengths. So you do literally for example, half, 3/4, full with each of your wedges and see what distances come out. And a lot of the time you do get a few distances that are the same between one club and another, and a player might favour a certain swing length, but ultimately build up a matrix of different yardages, and then we find which swing length and which club hits those yardages, so that you've got a good gapping, let's say, between the shots that you need. So I would say it's a bit of a combination between, it's a bit of changing the club but also changing the swing length a little bit as well. I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of you. Like Chris said, the player preference, my coach preference would be the very clubs and very swing length. But I wouldn't be mad about thinking about positions with 9 and 10, because I think that focus takes you away from hitting out your target. Maybe in the mirror at home you might go, well, that's what a 9 looks like, so that's how it feels, and that's what a 10 looks like, and that's how it feels. That's fair enough. And I understand the concept to give you a little bit of some type of structure, but as Jordan said, go out and practice and try. As Chris said, there's a bit of personal preference, and as you said, Richie, then you get those things dialed in, you make those decisions, build your own wee matrix of shots. So for a good competitive low handicap are very, very important, the wedges. So that was a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, that was number 6 or 7's my one.
Yeah.
Right, this is a bit of a drawn out question. It's a very good one though. We're assuming that nowadays the ball's going further. Technology's geared at the ball longer, so therefore shorter approaches, you would presume, which lead to a higher greens percentage. That's one theory. The further you hit it, the shorter your approach, the more greens you hit. Let's use that as a premise. For a 10 handicapper, what do I do of short par 4s? Do I flatter the driver and hope for the best, or do I go rescue a 4-iron, maybe what I've been doing or how golf used to be? So I'm just picturing the first at Green Acres, for an example, where we all coach. What does a 10 handicapper do? It's like anything. I think do what you're good at. If you might be a 10 handicapper who drives the ball pretty well and doesn't lose a lot of golf balls, doesn't lose a lot of strokes gained off the tee, don't get penalised. If that's the case, then probably do hit your driver. provided you're a decent wedge player. So like everything in golf, it's always, well, that depends. I would hit more drivers to get shorter shots into the green, to hit more greens, to have birdie putts. If I was a decent driver of the ball and didn't have a lot of penalty shots, and B, I was a decent distance wedge player, don't have a go at a driver if you're a 10 handicapper, if you don't drive the golf ball well and your wedge play is not one of your strengths. So that question will be answered by what's around the golfer with your particular game. But I would say, from having watched a lot of junior golf now and golf on TV, that if you can't hit it far, get his hands, even if in the first cut of rough, and play from there. So that would be my abiding two themes: do what you're good at, and hit it as far as you can nowadays. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree.
I'd agree
Just know what you can do, know what you're good at, and know what you're not good at. So if you're drive strength, then absolutely do it. I actually listened to a podcast recently, something really interesting. He talked about, it was I can't remember who it was, but he coached tour players anyway, and he was saying that what he found out was that your average, this is from a tour player by the way, tour average. So your average proximity of a drive in the rough, the proximity of the hole you'll get from a drive in the rough, is going to be pretty much the same as your proximity to the hole if the drive was 50 yards shorter, but in the fairway.
Yeah.
So it shows you how important it is to still hit the fairway, even if you are bombing it.
Yeah, that's the caveat, isn't it? You can hit it longer if you can hit it fairly straight.
Yeah.
That goes back to Tiger talking about speed. Yeah, swing as hard as you want if you can hit the middle of the club face. It's like there's if you're gonna go more with one, you've got to make sure the other stuff is there to complement that.
Yeah.
That's a good question. And everybody happy there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, number 8 is Chris.
Yeah, so it was from Luke B. Gorman saying best routine for visualization. Routine for visualization, by that I take it you mean before the shot, just trying to visualize the shot you're going to hit. Routine wise, what I like is asking yourself as many questions as possible, because your mind will answer your questions with pictures. So the more pictures, positive pictures you can get built up in your head, the better for you. So ask yourself, get into as much detail as possible. What's the perfect shot going to look like? What's my target? Where's the golf ball going to start? Where's the golf ball going to finish? Try and build up as clear as an image as you can of that shot you're about to hit. And visualization, another point on that, doesn't come easy. So it needs practice, just like a golf swing. So a lot of people who they try it, but immediately they don't see it. They don't see they're struggling to see the shot straight away. So try and practice visualization. Learn how to breathe properly when you're doing it, and hopefully then that's going to help you be able to see the shot meant to hit. Any other folks?
I just have like 5 seconds, lads. Super simple. The quality of what you see is based on the quality of the question you ask. Ask good questions. You said, Chris, get good pictures. Ask yourself good questions over the ball or around the ball. You'll get good pictures, which help your golf swing.
Yeah.
Lads?
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, super.
Okay, Jay, is Richie number 9?
Yeah, so let's see. I haven't got this guy's. Is it Thomas Clark? Mm-hmm. 4 handicapper, never had a lesson.
Contact me on Instagram, I think, or something.
Yeah, it says 4 handicappers, never had a lesson. Struggled off the tee with a low ball flight. So he would hit 3-wood and 5-wood more from the tee. His driver isn't fitted. It's off the shelf. Any tips for getting more launch? There's a few options there, because it'd be interesting to hear if he has a low flight with the rest of his shots. So does he hit his irons quite low, which would suggest that he de-lofts it or has quite a steep attack angle, which could be down to his swing or ball position. So if we focus more in on his tee shots, it's a combination of loft and attack angle and strike point. So investigating a ball position that's further forward. If it's an adjustable driver, the obvious one is to put more loft on it, or maybe it's just a driver that's just not got enough loft in the first place. Maybe the shaft's not suitable. So it ultimately, for any player, ideally you want to have a a club that's going to work for you, rather than have to change your swing and adapt your swing for the club. But maybe there's a little bit of both. I think in coach, like I would often, if it's someone in for a fitting or someone's in for a coaching session, there's sometimes a little bit of both going on. In the fitting, there's sometimes a little bit of coaching around maybe the ball position needs to change a little bit, or change their idea of what they're trying to do to hit that shot. And likewise in a coaching session, sometimes it's changing especially nowadays with the sleeves on the drivers and woods that you can get, you can change the loft. So firstly, I would ask him to check where his ball position is. Secondly, I'd ask him to check what loft's on his driver, and also strike point. If he's hitting it low off the face, that could also be causing the ball to launch really low. So that would lead into him trying to fix it. But ultimately, I think it's a case of trying to see somebody to get a bit more of a definitive answer.
So Richie is like, where's your ball position? What technology are you using? Where's your strike point? And do you have the right concepts as a player?
Yeah.
Those are the four things you go, okay, cool, it's pretty comprehensive. And those lads?
No, that's Richie's covered it all there.
Yeah, everybody's happy. Okay, good, Richie, well done. Right, number JP, is this number 9?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So who's from and what was it?
We've got a question then saying, what's the best practice net for the back garden? So obviously at time, I guess when everyone's on lockdown anyway, what's the best way to practice? So the best practice net, obviously, if you can access an actual golf one, that'll be brilliant. But if you're stuck for resources, firing something like just like a bed sheet up, or something like an old duvet or a bit of carpet, and just give yourself something you can actually make swings against. Obviously, first of all, check out the contacts when it comes to don't launch a driver into it, and it goes pear shaped. But it doesn't even have to be real golf balls. Even if you can get a bed sheet and hit some air balls into it, just to get yourself swinging. In terms of even just something like, doesn't even have to be a net. Get yourself something like a little bucket or a bin. Do some short game pitching and chipping in the house as well. So it says probably trying to find the best way you can practice efficiently in the current situation. Do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I think he's covered it.
I've got a couple of things. I think the first thing you say, Jordan, is safety. Make sure that if you're draping over a sheet or a carpet over a clothesline or whatever, you don't have a couple of steel pipes in there somewhere, because we all try and maximize our ball speed, don't we? But the last thing you want is a missile flying back at you at 100 miles an hour too. So that's the first thing, safety. If you can try and source or get a decent mat to actually hit off that replicates what it might feel like to hit a golf ball. And the heavier the material, the better. Probably the more it's going to absorb the flight of the golf ball. But I think nets overall are very good for certain things and not so good for others. What they're good for is that they can let you work on the feel of your golf swing and not get influenced by ball flight. I know we look at ball flight so much as coaches, but take ball flight away, you have to get into the other aspects of what you're doing, the strike, the sound, and the feel of your golf swing, so they can help develop all of those. And if you get a mirror behind you, I'm thinking there's a right-handed player here, if the net's here, if you get a mirror here, you can work away, not at positions, but you can start to get a visual image of your golf swing, and you can start to put some feels with how it actually looks. So provided we're not in lockdown here for 6 months, a little bit of that at the start of the years, I think that's a good idea for anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody cool? Everybody cool? Right. Mm-hmm. Number 10, Chris. Somebody's going to have to ask question.
So
I haven't a question.
Okay. So the question here is: can you tell what your ball flight would have done from hitting into a net? Difficult enough to tell, to be honest, but there is a lot of other feedback you can get from using a net. So the best feedback you can get, in my opinion, is for quality of strike. So you're hitting into a net, you have limited feedback as to where the golf ball went, but especially if you're using like some foot spray or something on the club, you can get some really good feedback for where you're hitting it on the club face, which is the most important thing of all. So use it for that, and use your net also for some technical development if you can. You know, if you're working at a certain move in your golf swing, whether it be your takeaway or anything at all, you can use the net. The net's actually a great place to use, or a great resource to use initially, because if you're slightly uncomfortable working on something in your golf swing and you're not quite confident that you're going to hit a good shot with that, which everyone's been through, that you're actually taking away the result, which means you can put more focus into what you're trying to do in your golf swing, which is massively important, because so many times people are distracted or seduced by the ball flight when they're trying to work on something new, which takes them away sometimes from the movement they're trying to make. So it's brilliant for that. Anything else, guys?
I'd back up what you just said there about taking away the worry about where the ball's going. If you're practicing something different, I think that's a really good point to make, that you don't have to be seeing the ball flight all the time. I like that.
I would probably add, if depending on how big your net is or how much space you have, you could probably tell a little bit on the ball flight. If you've got enough space, you could probably fire something in the net to help with start direction or start line. And if you miss it far enough left or right, it will probably give you a general idea of where the ball's starting. Now that's obviously if you have enough space. If you haven't got enough space, I would probably agree with the other guys. Contact and technique's probably the way to go.
Yeah, as you said, Chris, I think if you get a camera down the line, you can tell start direction, which gives you a big indicator about face, and you can also tell strike location, which can tell you a little bit about how the ball's going to spin or not spin. So you probably can get 2/3 of where the ball might go if you've got an idea how to read that. But like you've all said, working in a net is by no means a bad thing, because if you take away your visual stimulus of what you think might have happened out here, it tends to internalize your feels and your focus. So you can think then you can focus a bit on speed for distance wedges, or you can think a bit about where your body may or may not be, and you can develop your feel for strike. You can do a lot of that. You said it, Chris, you can do a lot of that stuff. If you hit balls in the net with the spray in the face, you can hit it and then guess where you hit it. And we know ourselves, there's not many people can do that. And usually it nearly always correlates with the best players can do that best. So if you could get your skill better at guessing what part of the club you've hit, it'll help you when you go for practice, because you'll understand what a heel sounds like, or a toe sounds like, or a heel sounds like, or a toe feels like.
Yeah, I think that's a really good exercise to do, actually, in the net, where get some sort of spray on your club face so you've got your feedback, and then practice swinging at different speeds and different rhythms. And then there you go. Yep, exactly, that Karen foot spray. So stick that on your club face, swing. An example, get 4 different clubs and swing at 40%, one swing at 60%, one swing at 80%, one swing at 100% with each club. Guess where you've hit it on the club face before you've hit it, and that's going to give you a really good sense and feel of rhythm and trying to deliver the centre of the face onto the golf ball. Yeah,
that's good. You can do, as you said, Richie, in one of your posts, it's not about what we can't do this time of year, it's what we can do. And we've all read a tremendous amount about successful people in sport and business and life. They go and they roll their sleeves up and do what they can with the time that they have. So it's up to you. Right.
Last one.
Excuse me. Is it Taylor's question?
When practicing at home, should I be prioritizing technical development, or should I be devoting time to developing feel in my short game and putting?
Taylor made one of my favourite students. I think a bit of everything Taylor made, because you can do it. As Chris, we talked there a second ago about how do you use indoors, how do you use mirrors, how do you use practice nets. You can develop your technique if you know what you're working on, because you can get, I don't want to say position orientated, but you can start to see your golf swing and feel it. You're not relying on ball flight so much. So it is a good time to do a bit of technical work, but you also want to keep your feel in touch. Now, how do you do that really, unless you have a bit of a garden to chip in and pitch in? It's hard to develop your feel with a short game. I think maybe I'll pass it on to Richie, and he can talk to you about how you might develop feel with your putting. But definitely it's a time to do some technical continuance of what we've been doing. You can develop a little bit of feel if you can chip and pitch, maybe, but you definitely can develop some feel with your putting. Richie, any ideas how you can develop feel with your putting indoors?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Taylor a few times over the last year, and he's developed well. So because he's someone that we know at the academy, I think it would be worth him getting in touch so that he can send me a video so I can see where he's up to, because I can remember he went from one end of the spectrum to another on a technical side. So I would say that if he sends me a video, I can just make sure I keep him in check, and then he can be, when he is practicing his putting, he's practicing the right thing, and he's not straying too far one way or the other. It's good for Taylor because he's been in, and from a putting perspective, he knows what he's needed to develop. It's just knowing where the line is in terms of getting to the line and not going too far past it. So it'd be good for him to send something so I can check it out.
Yeah, Chris, I'll ask you then, if you're quite good at doing a lot of those off-speed drill swings, the 20, 40, 60, 80. If Taylor, I'm not sure if he has a net or not, let's presume he maybe has a net.
Mm-hmm.
You give him something to develop speed awareness in the swing with a net, or even without, maybe with airflow balls. Is there anything you can do with both to develop feel for his golf swing?
I would just do that through the gears drill I talked about there. If you're trying to develop feel and a sense of rhythm for what you're trying to do, I think that's one of the best, where you are take 4 different clubs, swing 40%, 60%, 80%, and 100% with each club. Give yourself some kind of feedback on your strike with foot spray in the club face, and give yourself, if you say you are hitting it into a net, give yourself some sort of point system, so make it semi-competitive, where you give yourself a point if you struck it out of the middle of the face, and a point if the ball has started online, if you can give yourself some sort of feedback on that. Because if you do that continually, number one, you're going to get a really good sense and feel for how to deliver the club face to the golf ball at different speeds. And also, if you do it in your own practice away from the net later on, when this is all over, you can actually develop a few different little shots you can take onto the golf course as well, which you never realised you had, or like an 80% 6-iron or something like that, which gives you a certain flight that you could use in a certain situation.
Okay, very good. JP, any you've thoughts on how Taylor can use the time that he has at home either to develop feel or technique? What would you advise some of your students to do?
I would agree with all you guys. I would say you've probably got the time now to do it, so I'd probably doing a little bit of, rather than prioritising one, I would say you could probably do a little bit of everything there. I think, as I say, so try and split your practice at home into different, something for one day or a couple of hours each day on each thing. Obviously mirror work's probably your best thing. Maybe in the house, if you have the net perfect, hit a couple of shots in there with the concept, like Chris says, work through that gears drill. So I would say just try and, rather than taking one thing, do a little bit of each and try and do it the best you can, just rather than half-heartedly doing something here, something there. Make your practice efficient.
Very good, lads. That's us, is it?
Yep.
Okay, that was good. We'll see how that goes. Richie, I don't want you to